And it's becoming disturbingly clear that old guard feminists have more in common and agree more with the old men of talkback radio than they do with 20-something women. Because 20-something women have switched off. Nina Fennell is a 26-year-old researcher and commentator, and in the Weekly Review, an excellent newspaper, if you want to know why I walk with a stick, I suggest you read this week's edition, says, unfortunately, many of her contemporaries still believe in the old stereotypes that feminists are angry, shrill, bra-burning, man-hating dykes. This has to be fixed. And if you women won't do it, then guys like me will start doing it. Because people will actually tune in to what I'm saying. Hey, darling, what? It's a man talking about feminism. Shh, it might be good. Because for some reason, women aren't listening to women. And you have to address that, sisters. You have to address that. Because at the moment, you have a feminist car crash. And it's got nothing to do with Lady Gaga. So, that's slanderous, so I'm not going to say that. A big question is, why would the uni students, both male and female, of Generation Y pay attention to anyone who did everything Gen Y wants to do and more? I mean, all the Gen Xers at the moment moaning about sexualization, it just seems like Gen X jealousy of youth, jealousy of a lifetime of independence and childcare enforced self-reliance. That's a whole other book. Jealousy of the multimedia miasma that is found in your average iPhone. These kids today, oh, it's all machines with them. Oh, it's all music with them. Oh, it's all iPods with them. These kids today, oh, it's all culture. Culture. Sexualization, for starters, goes way back. The birth of Venus, you seen that picture? Well, there is a naked woman. At least Gaga is pixelated. A naked woman being delivered on a shell to, well, we don't know, to us, looking pretty damn sexy. Michelangelo's David, there is an 18-foot tall naked man. And you're telling me that wasn't sexual? Michelangelo was gay, he makes an 18-foot tall naked man with it's sexual, don't you worry about that. And as proof that everybody here is sexualized, as if you needed to be told, is that you are here and you came to see a speech that was called The Secrets of Sex. And me being here today, being called The Secrets of Sex, well, I called it that because the two most powerful words in marketing are secrets and sex. And I thought people will come along and they'll think, oh, I'm going to see Tim Ferguson's sex secrets. They're not secrets anymore, just ask anybody. Claire, tell them that. I mean, there's nothing to hear really that you haven't already. But we come along and we're intrigued. Why? Because we all love sex. We're all interested in sex. I remember from the age of 7, I fell in love with Suzanne, whatever her name was. I kissed her on the hand. I spent the next 2 years quivering whenever I thought of her or saw her. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I was attached to something that wanted to get attached to her. I started sexualized. You don't become sexualized. We have a thing called DNA, and it doesn't change and it doesn't suddenly appear. It just changes gear. So for Generation X, it seems that conservatism on all fronts is the new cool. Well, it ain't. Conservatism is the same as it always been. And John Howard, it might be his fault, it might be Kevin Rudd's fault, it might be Andrew Bolt's fault in the Herald Sun, it might be someone else's fault. But I think Generation X is doing what is only natural and human, which is to fear the generation coming up behind them. Because the generation coming up behind us has greater freedom, greater knowledge and greater potential than we do now that we are the older people. I'm 46. My ability to shock people is diminishing. Why? Because I don't look like Lady Gaga. But Lady Gaga's doing the same thing Madonna did and scandalised the world, which is walking around in less than you would walk around in on the street. And that's it. And sure, her mates are dressed in leather and she's in jail and they have this sort of sadomasochistic imagery, but that's because kids know about that stuff these days, because they see it on the internet and they see it on CSI. So it's the same thing. We should embrace Generation Y because they are not only the future, but they're a good future. In conclusion, what I'm really trying to say is that Generation Y had the potential to be way more offensive, way more contemporarily offensive than the Doug Anthony All-Stars or I have ever been. They are more technology savvy. They are more literate. They are actually, would you believe it, more numerically literate. And they spell better, despite the fact that, you know, we're always finding letters that they can't write. They are more arts aware. They have more media and more culture in their lives than we will ever have. For the rest of our lives, we will never have as much as this generation has. They have brains, they have savvy, they have drive. So what? They only want to work for 2 weeks and be the general manager. That's fine. Go on. I'd rather have a nation of ambitious young people than a nation of people going, yep, right, sir, yep, no worries, yep, that's it. Or whenever you're ready to shuffle off the mortal coal, you know, I'll be right here, okay? Whenever you die, I'm happy to wait. Better that they are ambitious and pushing boundaries and causing trouble and prancing around in jail cells in bikinis than doing what Generation X wants them to, which is to sit down and shut up and wait your turn. If there are Gen Y people here, take us from behind with a knife. Because if we allow this tsunami of conservatism to take over, pretty soon the lights will all be off and there'll be no point for anybody to be here. So I urge you, before I go to questions, please, when we're finished here, go home, have a double martini, smoke a cigar, get laid and watch some internet porn. For Christ's sake, I beg you. Thank you.